back, everybody. Sorry I've had such a very long stint of absence. We've been moving to the St. Louis, Missouri area over here on the luscious and wonderful Chesterfield. I call it the hashtag Chesty. It's pretty baller over here. It's beautiful. Everything's awesome. I'm very close to the gaming shop Alpha Omega Gaming in the Chesterfield Mall. Really awesome shop. I'm in the process of doing some collaboration with them to do Commander gameplay videos just to kind of help promote their sales and get their name out there a little better, show off some cards, talk about a few different maybe upcoming events of theirs, you know, just to kind of have a good time. So hopefully that falls through. And then a little farther north of me, about 20 minutes away, is the Fantasy Shop. By the end of the month, they're going to let me know on their talk I had with them, kind of collaborating with them also for the same thing. Talk about events, talk about cards, and get their name out there. Win-win. I get more views, hopefully more subscribers. They get views, subscribers, and hopefully gets people into their shop. So it'll be freaking win-win, win-win-win by winning for every winning one. Dr. Seuss, Cat in the Hat shit there. Today, I'm going to talk about experimental Kraj. Experiment Kraj. I always call it experimental Kraj because, I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid like that. He's a very fun commander to build around. 6 mana for 4/6. You tap to put a counter on something, and he gains all the activated abilities of all creatures with 1/1 counters. He can get fucking batshit crazy super fast, but he's turbo fun to play with. There's a lot of ways you can take him. And my deck, I kind of went creature toolbox route, so we'll get into that. He's super fun. Give him a try. Don't have to build it the way I did. You know, build it however you feel is necessary. Build it how you like. So we'll get him out of the way. Our lands, I've run 38 lands, that iconic number of mine. Super, super iconic number. I run 8 lands that tap for colorless and 10 islands, 8 forests. So we'll get the forests out of the way. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops. 7, 8, 9. Apparently I can't counter add. It's a little late over here, so forgive me if I'm tired and stupid. Anyways, our non-basics got Oran Reef the Vastwood. Comes into play tap, so it's a little slow, but it's perfect for this deck because he adds counters. It does something that otherwise I'd have to put in a creature slot for. He does something that themes with my general. Tap it, put a counter on each creature that enter the battlefield. So if I'm on a team, I can help my buddy who maybe just played Avengers Zendikar. Hey, everything gets a free 1/1 counter. Dryad Arbor, just a good man land. Menamo, School at Wata's Edge. This is an excellent land, and it's actually kind of climbing in price. So if you don't have one yet, I would get it. I think it's only going to go up. If not, it's going to stay at the price. Untap target legendary permanent. Permanent. Themes with my general. Simic Growth Chamber. Breeding Pool. Reflecting Poo. Command Tower. Vivid Creek. Vivid Grove. Yes. Hinterland Harbor. Yes, nice. Yavimea Coast. Temple of Mystery. Ancient Tomb. Now we're getting our colorless lands. Temple of False God. These two are fantastic lands because they help speed me along. So, oops, bumped my camera. They help speed you up a little bit. Inkmoth Nexus. This is a kind of a very subsidiary win condition because I can put 1/1 counters on him. We'll make it a creature first. Put 1/1 counters on it. Hit somebody, give them infect damage. And at end of turn, even though it doesn't become a creature, it keeps those counters. Those counters remain on it. So next turn, all I gotta do is pay 1, and hey, it's not just a 1/1. It's however many counters it's got on it also. So he's excellent. I also have Inexorable Tide, so a little proliferate engine. So it's actually somewhat relevant. Strip Mine, little utility in that, get rid of those pesky lands. Alchemist Refuge, it's just a fun card to have in here, and it kind of themes with the deck. Allow me to slip in them sneaky creatures into people's turns. Novagen, Heart of Progress. Put a 1/1 counter that came into play this turn. Well, on each creature it came into play this turn. Fantastic. And the good thing about this one is it doesn't come into play tapped. Excellent. Rogue's Passage. About 99.2% of the time I'm running that stupid card in every one of my decks. It's just a fun land to have. Reliquary Tower. Now we're getting into the creatures. Creatures, I got 34 creatures. Again, it is a little creature toolboxy, so my creatures do a little bit of everything, and I'd say about 95% of them go with the general. Uvenwald Tracker. He's super fun because I put a counter on him and buff up Kraj. I got ways to abuse his putting counters on things, so I'm putting 3 or 4 counters on stuff at a time. Whatever's getting big is going to start slamming other creatures, so he helps with removal. And when Kraj has his ability, I can do that ability twice a turn, so I doink off creatures left and right. Scavenging Ooze, a little bit of graveyard hate. Pilla Palla. Okay, stop. Time out. I don't run infinite combos. He's an untapped mech, and he also gives me a little mana fixing. That's why he's in there. That's the only reason. I promise I don't have any infinite combos. It's not my style. I don't run with that kind of swag. Fanny Shaman, a little creature tutoring. Also an activated ability, so I can have Kraj do it. Reclamation Sage. Now this one's a new one I've tried out, and I actually really like it. The reason why he's in here is for his mana cost. At 3 mana, he's just a 2/1. Comes into play, destroy something. Now I put these two together because sometimes you just need that really quick tutor up, destroy, get rid of something kind of situation. That's why he's there, and he has served his purpose. He's excellent. Vidian Graft Mage. He is excellent because that graft ability and the untap ability. For 3 mana, ideally play him on turn 2 or 3. He henceforth starts putting 1/1 counters. He can put 1 counter on something. That's fantastic. He does something that saves me a little bit of time with Kraj, so when Kraj is out there I don't have to worry about slapping counters on stuff. He helps me out and does it for me. And the untap ability allows me to untap creatures with 1/1 counters on it, or Kraj. Eternal Witness, get stuff back. Fertilid. Fertilid is sweet, okay? Fertilid allows me to tutor up lands for myself or another player. Again, if I'm on a team or if I want to play politics, I'll give somebody a free basic land. If not, I think I played him at the Fantasy Shop on Friday, and I probably used his ability a good 4 times before he finally got killed. That's 4 lands. Trigon Predator. One of my favorite cards for the Simic combination. He's quick, he gets out there, he's got evasion, and he destroys things. Vorel the Hulklade. If you're running any kind of counters theme, Vorel's pretty much one of your big go-to guys. Doubles counters on an artifact creature land. Gilder Baron, he, in my opinion, is better than Vorel because he themes with Kraj, allows me to tap Kraj to put a counter on something, and then untap Kraj for 3 mana to double the counters on a permanent, including planeswalkers, including artifacts, lands, creatures, whatever. I can double the number of counters on it. Edric, Spymaster Tress. Excellent creature, gives me a little bit of draw and also helps to alleviate the pressure off of me. Horseshoe Crab. He's excellent with Kraj because he allows me to untap Kraj for 1 blue mana. That's why I have a little bit of extra blue sources as far as lands go in this deck, because that comes up a little more relevant. Along with that, we have Simic Ragworm. Pretty much a 4 mana 3/3 version of Horseshoe Crab. Allows me to untap Kraj. Kraj can get out of hand really fast. Glen Elendra Archmage, give me a little extra counters. Put a 1/1 counter on him and it negates that persist -1/-1 counter. So you can potentially use this ability multiple times. Oracle of Moldiah helps me speed up. Spike Weaver, this is a hilariously fun card. Even if you're not running a counters theme, he's fun. He can He comes into play with 3 1/1 counters. You can pay 1 or remove a counter to fog for a turn. That's excellent. And you know what? That helps other players to swing at your opponents versus you. Because they know if they attack you, you're going to fog. So they're going to send it other places. You can also manipulate that with Kraj. Wickerbaugh Elder. This is another one of those fun cards. It's a sleeper card that not a lot of people will, I think, know about, and a lot of people don't run it. I chose him for some extra artifact or enchantment destruction because of his mana cost. Again, it's not quite as quick and versatile as Acidic Slime, where 5 mana comes into play, destroy an artifact creature or artifact, enchantment, or land. But I like Wickerbaugh Elder, and with my Inexorable Tide, it allows me to possibly put an extra counter on him and use it multiple times. You know what? I'll take a 4 mana 4/4 that I get to destroy something. Cytoplast Manipulator. He's one of my other grafty creatures. When I can throw 1/1 counters around like you wouldn't believe, this guy becomes a menace to society. Especially when I get Kraj going. Tap, put a counter on something. Hey, pay 1 mana. I gain control of that something. Forgotten Ancient. Honestly, I've yet to use this guy. He themes with the deck, and he'll do work, ideally. I mean, look at what he does. He gains counters whenever somebody does something. And then I can put those counters on anything. So he'll do work. For some reason, I just have yet to use him. I just don't pull him. Mystic Snake. Can't run Simic without Mystic Snake. Come on. Fathom Mage. Fathom Mage is a draw monster. For the reason being, not evolved, but whenever a 1/1 counter is placed on Fathom Mage. So I can hammer out a bunch of 1/1 counters with Kraj, make her, I don't know, +4/+4 with the counters, and draw 4 cards. That's all I need out of her, really. Master Biomancer pretty much lets all my stuff come into play with 1/1 counters. Also, it gives me a little loop outlet with Glen Elendra Archmage. Prophet of Crewfix, you play this, you're going to poop out stuff left and right. He's going to cause you to win the game. Or if somebody steals him from you, he's going to cause them to win the game and you to lose the game. It's for fun, though. Mercfiend Liege. I don't really care for this guy because he doesn't untap permanents, he doesn't untap lands, he only untaps creatures. But in this case with Kraj, it's actually really relevant. I want Kraj to untap. I want all my stuff to untap because a lot of them have activated abilities. Acidic Slime, pretty stapley in this EDH Commander format. Oops. Seedborn Muse, untaps all permanents you control during other players' untap step. Fantastic. Progenitor Mimic, copy stuff. Simic-y goodness. Prime Speaker's Agana. Prime Speaker pretty much reloads my hand and then some. Even if I just play Kraj, I'm drawing 5 cards. If I play something else, buff it up a little bit with Kraj, then play her, I could draw more. Reloads my hand. That's what she's there for. Akranus the Omnipotent. Omnipotent. Put a 1/1 counter on him and I can bounce Kraj to my hand in a last-ditch effort kind of situation, or I can tap him to draw. And with Kraj's ability, Simic Ragworm or Horseshoe Crab, I can untap for 1 mana, draw 3. Untap for 1 mana, draw 3. That gets pretty bonkers. Woodfall Primus. This is another one of those engines, kind of like the Glen Elendra Archmage, where I can put a 1/1 counter on him and he'll keep persisting. He will persist until he can't persist no more. Now, the next 3 creatures are going to be my real win conditions. Thornling. With Thornling getting a 1/1 counter and Kraj being out, Kraj gets all those abilities. He gets haste, he can be indestructible, he can get trample. I can flex his power and toughness however I want. Basically, Thornling itself will wreck a game. He'll wreck somebody if they're not exiling him or getting rid of him or something. But if Kraj gets those abilities, it's going to allow me to deal massive amounts of general damage. A German Morphling, at least I'm pretty sure that's German. Gives him flying, gives him shroud, allows him to, I don't know what one of those blue abilities is. Untap, shroud, flying. Yeah, it's untap, shroud, flying, I think. And then flexing the power and toughness. That, again, with Kraj is going to allow him to wreck somebody with general damage. That evasion's where it's at. And the hexproof and the untapping. Aetherling. He's kind of like the ugly 1 mana more expensive cousin of the first two. But he does just about the same thing, except slightly different. You know, he gives Kraj that hard to kill ability with exile it, then return it at the end of the next end step. But he also gives Kraj unblockable. That's almost better than Trampler Flying. That's almost way better than Trampler Flying. Just, hey, here's a bunch of Kraj damage. Have a very Kraj Christmas. And then I can also flex his power and toughness. Alright, so 34 creatures. We'll get into the non-creatures. Oh, I don't know why I moved that. So, mana rocks. I have 7 ramp spell. That's what I kind of classified it. Got the old Soul Ring. It's pretty much a staple. If it's a commander deck you're running, then you need to be running Soul Ring. Simic Signet. I like this Simic Signet because I have a lot of 3 and 4 casting cards. So as far as mana rocks go, this helps my curve out tremendously, and it also evens out my mana combinations by giving me a blue and a green. Exploration. With all the draw I have in this deck, Exploration is a huge fan of mine. Or huge fun card for me. I just poop lands out. Burgeoning. That's another bonkers card. With all the draw power I get, I'm just pooping out lands left and right. Kodama's Reach. Cultivate. Explosive Vegetation. Explosive Kragitation. Getting Krajy up in here. So now we're going into my draw spells / tutor spells. Green Sun Zenith. I got Green Sun Zenith because a ton of my creatures are green. It's a utility deck, so I want to have that flexibility right off the get-go. Also, I run Dryad Arbor, so if I have this in my opening hand, I am almost 90% of the time tutoring up for Dryad Arbor to get a turn or a second land on turn 2. It also shuffles itself in. Primal Command. This is another one of those cards that's starting to creep up in value. So I thought I'd give it another try. It allows me to choose 2 things, and most of the time I'm tutoring up for a creature and I'm putting a non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library. Some of the time, a lot of pods will have a mill deck, some deck that does a lot of work out of the graveyard. You know what? It gives me the option to get rid of that graveyard. It gives me options. That's what that card's all about. Defense of the Heart. For tutors, I chose this one because A, it's only 4 mana. Now, the downfall of this card, it has to sit there for at least 1 good turn. But most of the time, it doesn't get messed with. And usually on turn 4, somebody is going to be unfortunate to have too many creatures, and I'm going to get to tutor up 2 creatures and slap them right into play. Depending on the circumstance, depends on what I'll get. Who knows? It's all just, circumstance. But I get to tutor up 2 creatures. Sensei's Divining Top. Pretty excellent. Even more excellent when you run Future Sight. This is a fun combination that I've been doodling around with some of my decks that run blue. Future Sight is just one of those awesome cards that for some reason I don't see a lot in Commander. I know the 3 blue and the cost is a little bit of a deterrent, but it's running 2 colors. It's not going to be really a problem. But play with the top card of your library revealed. That's not a problem. You may play the top card of your library. So, with Sensei's Top out in play, I can tap to draw a card. I draw that card, put that card on top, and then play this again because I have Future Sight in play. So basically, I can tap to draw a card, pay 1, tap, draw a card, pay 1, tap, draw a card. So, it's an excellent little draw engine. Mystic Remora. This is a huge sleeper card, people. It's not run enough. 1 mana, cumulative upkeep of 1, so that adds up. Whenever an opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4 mana to counter that effect. Basically, whenever I play this, if I have this in my opening hand, I don't drop it out there. Because turn 1, most of the time, what's somebody going to play turn 1? Soul Ring. Maybe somebody plays a Soul Ring. Maybe. That's 1 out of 99 cards times how many players in the pod. So the chances are low. I'll wait till second or third turn to drop it, because that's when people are actually going to start casting stuff. And unlike Rhystic Study, nobody's paying 4. Now granted, it only works on non-creature spells. You're still going to be drawing a bunch of cards. Even if this only stays out there 1 or 2, maybe 3 turns, because the cumulative upkeep does add up, it's going to draw you some cards for free. It's going to net you cards. Rhystic Study. Same thing as Mystic Remora, but whenever an opponent casts any spell, and I played in a game with one of my new friends up in the fantasy shop area named Alex, and he got both of these out by like turn 2 or 3, and I was like, oh my god, blow my brains out. It was redonkulous. He got both of these out by, it was turn 3 at the latest, and it was ridiculous. It was funny, but it was ridiculous. I was like, oh my god. So now we're going into my removal. Turn to Frog. Now when I think of Simic, I think of transmutation, morgification, turning things into other things against our will. What better than turn to freaking Frog? You might as well say destroy target creature, because when you come at me with Avacyn and I turn it to a frog, I'm going to either A, chump block it with a 1/1 and they'll both die, or B, I'm going to chump block it with a 2/2 and your Avacyn frogling will die because it has no abilities. That's a huge, huge thing. And it janks people out of nowhere with them awesome, hard to deal with creatures. Turns into 1/1 frog with no abilities. Beast Within, destroys a permanent. Void Slime. This is one of those really solid Simic counter spells because it counters a spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. That can be very relevant in a lot of situations. Plasm Capture. These are the only 2 real counter spells I run in here. Plasm Capture, I have it in here because it'll lurch me ahead 5 to 10 mana around that time frame. One of the pods I played in at the Fantasy Shop Friday was somebody had played Villainous Wealth for 10. I Plasm Captured, add 10 to my mana pool. That was pretty awesome. That guy was a little pissed. It was for fun. Now my board sweeping ability is kind of weak. Now that's fine because I'm running a lot of creatures. Cyclonic Rift is just one of those cards that you have to run it if you run blue. You just have to. Now, Dismiss into Dream. This is a super fun card. Not a lot of people know about it because it's just one of those meh cards, but in a situation like Commander where things get targeted left and right, whether it be equipment. Okay, for example, everybody runs some sort of equipment. Everybody. Swiftfoot boots. And just about everything. Well, hey, you equip your creature with Swiftfoot boots, hey, guess what? You have to sacrifice it. That sucks. Especially when I got Experiment Kraj out given 1/1 counter. So it's pretty much tapped to make you sack a creature. And it's only opponents. All is Dust. This is my only other board wipe. And it's just a huge card. It wipes everything that's got a color, which is pretty much everything nowadays. Now we're getting into my jank stuff. That miscellaneous pile. I don't really know what to classify. Inexorable Tide. It fits this deck. It proliferates. It can give Infect. It can buff up Planeswalkers. It can do a lot of stuff. Inexorable Tide is definitely a on-theme card for this. Spitting Image. What's better, Simic-y wise, than making a complete copy of something? You can also reuse it with Retrace. Illusionist Bracers. Now this is one of those cards that I've kind of dubbed, if I'm not dubbing a pile the jank pile, I'm dubbing it the Thinking Ahead pile. When Kraj gains all activated abilities of all creatures with 1/1 counters on it, so that can be, for example, I put a 1/1 counter on Viscera the Dreadful, tap to destroy a creature. I can put Illusionist Bracers on Braj and tap to destroy 2 creatures. Acranus the Omnipotent, tap to draw 6 cards. Get out of hand really fast. Oops, wrong way. Pemin's Aura. This is a toolboxy card that themes with my untapping and flying, and it pretty much gives Kraj the ability to Morphling as an aura. So it's definitely a sleeper card, and it's super awesome. Swifty Bees, Swiftfoot Boots. Lastly, aestheticism. Oh, I'm getting my piles all messed up. Asceticism. Gives my stuff a little bit of protection between these two, and regenerate. Super, super useful card. So that is my Experiment Kraj EDH deck. Give it a try. I'm going to be doing Sakushimi the Imposter next, so stay tuned.